Today we'll be reading The Pen is Mightier Than the Sword. In the early 19th century, a number of Americans supported slavery, a practice that had been widely accepted since ancient times. Even people who loathed slavery, and there were a great many, thought that there was little that one person could do about it. They were wrong. Harriet Beecher Stowe, who was born in Litchfield, Connecticut in 1811, was someone who caused important changes. She believed that slavery was a monstrous crime. While living in Ohio in the 1840s, she used her house to harbor enslaved people. These people had escaped from their southern owners and were making their way north to freedom. In 1850, Harriet moved to Maine with her minister husband. There she wrote a novel called Uncle Tom's Cabin. The book not only awakened people to the horrors of slavery, but also catapulted her to world fame. So we're talking about Harriet Beecher Stowe here, who lived at a time where slavery was still common in the United States. There was a lot of people who really did not like that slavery still existed, but they thought they couldn't do anything about it. But Harriet decided there was something she could do. Not only did she harbor enslaved people, so she helped them to escape, and this word harbor here, right, is not talking about the place a harbor, but harbor as in something you do, the verb harbor. So she would harbor enslaved people, but then she also wrote this book, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Let's find out what this book was about and why it was important. Her book painted a grim picture of enslaved life. Readers shared the agony that the enslaved mother Eliza felt when she accidentally overheard that her only child was to be sold to a slave trader. They eagerly followed Eliza's adventures. First, Eliza escaped with her child. Together, they crossed the half-frozen Ohio River by jumping from one broken piece of ice to the next. Armed men and yelping dogs were close behind. Readers breathed a sigh of relief when Eliza and her child reached Canada and freedom. Another character in the book is the wise and kindly enslaved man, Uncle Tom. He was sold to Simon Legree. Legree was a man who took pleasure in inflicting severe punishment on the people he enslaved. He ordered Uncle Tom to give a whipping to a sick and weak woman who had failed to pick enough cotton. Tom refused, so Legree had him whipped instead. Later, Uncle Tom steadfastly refused to tell Legree where two runaway enslaved people were hiding. Legree had him beaten so severely that he died. Readers wept. So these weren't real people, but the characters in Harriet's story. Uncle Tom's Cabin sold millions of copies. It was translated into many different languages. It was also made into a stage play. The play was performed all over the world. The book helped rouse the people of America, especially those in the North, into demanding an end to slavery. Of course, not everyone looked with favor on Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was banned in the South. Slave owners and their supporters accused Harriet Beecher Stowe of meddling in their lives. She ignored their protests. She continued to denounce slavery in speeches, articles, and books. So the country at this time was divided into two. There was people in the North who wanted slavery to end, and people in the South who wanted slavery to continue. But those who wanted it to end loved this book, Uncle Tom's Cabin. The quarrel between the North and South over the question of slavery escalated. In 1863, in the middle of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln signed an order abolishing slavery in states then under Confederate control. Harriet Beecher Stowe's novel played no small part in bringing about the war that ended slavery. Her life shows that just one determined person can make a difference. So this book that Harriet wrote ended up being a big influence on people and made more and more people want to support the end of slavery, which later ended up with Abraham Lincoln abolishing slavery. So making sure that it was not legal anymore. Thanks for reading with me. We do have links related to each article. If you want the link for this video, you can find it down in the description below.